Hi and welcome to Terry Talks Movies. This time around I've got a really big haul from Imprint Films, their latest things for August 2024. And there's some really interesting stuff there. It's pretty much all 1990s. And it does lean towards one particular actor, Harvey Keitel. So I'm going to get started with that particular box set of two movies, a movie and its sequel, both from 1995. And I hadn't heard of them because, remember, in 1990s I was watching lots of trash films. But this one is a killer and it's great. It's about characters, it's about community, it's about people helping each other out. And it's also about cigar and cigarette smoking. Smoke and Blue in the Face. Both starring Harvey Keitel as a guy called Augie who runs a tobacconist on a street corner in New York. The movie was co-directed and co-written by Wayne Wang and Paul Auster. I've watched Smoke, and Smoke blew me away, just like you can blow smoke away. It's a story about a bunch of different characters. There's a writer called Paul, played by William Hurt, who uses a tobacconist where Augie runs a store. There's a black kid who says his name's Rashid, but it actually isn't, who saves Paul from falling in front of a bus on the street, and Paul then gives him a place to stay for a little while. They form a friendship. It's also about Augie's ex-girlfriend, played by Stockard Channing, and a bunch of other characters who are ancillary to those main characters. It's a beautiful film, and it's really touching and deep and meaningful, and it's got one of the best slow zoom shots as Augie is telling Paul a Christmas story that I've seen in any film, and I love it. I just watched the slow zoom while I was listening to Harvey Keitel talking, and the slow zoom really sold the movie to me as much as anything else. So there it is. It's in a thing that looks like a tobacco box, which is really kind of cool. The really ironic and horrible thing is, in 2024, Paul Auster, one of the co-directors and co-writers, who was a very fine novelist as well, died of lung cancer. So I'm just going to leave that there. So there's the box, and I'm going to do a freeze frame on the back so you can see all the extras. I'll peel the sticker off and just freeze frame that for you, and play some music in the background so you can check it out. But please feel free to freeze frame and get all those extras. There are a ton of them. Here's the back cover, which is kind of cool. I like that. It's very kind of 1940s pin-up in a way, isn't it? And then you take the top off. There's the alternative cover art for Smoke, and the back cover. There's the disc, which of course I held up the wrong way. And there's Paul and Augie out in rural New York on an adventure which changes Rashid's life. I enjoyed that movie a lot. And it's one of those movies, and this is happening to me a lot, where I'll watch a really fine film and then I'll kind of regret the number of trashy movies I watch. And then I'll go back to watching trashy movies. It's a weird thing I've got, but when I do watch a fine film, I really savor it. It's like I eat hamburgers all my life, and then occasionally I get a really nice meal. And I think, I've got to eat more really nice meals, and then I don't. I'm a flawed vessel, what can I tell you? Then we've got the one I haven't watched, Blue in the Face, which is the sequel and contains some of the same characters. It was made because the characters in the first movie, the actors, were making up stuff about the backstories of their characters. And Paul Auster and Wayne Wang went, why don't we make another film about that? And so they did. Why not? Harvey Weinstein was paying the bill. And there's Blue in the Face. Hell of an ensemble. You've got Vic Drago, Giancarlo Esposito, who's in everything these days. Every second thing I look at, Giancarlo Esposito's in it. Michael J. Fox, Mel Gorham, Jim Jarmusch, Harvey Keitel, Lou Reed's in there as well. Mira Sorvino, Lily Tomlin, and unfortunately Roseanne Barr. This is the night, is what can you do? I'll read you the blurb from the back of this one. A wacky group of locals visit the neighbourhood cigar shop, looking for good times and plenty of hilarious fun. But when the greedy owner of the shop threatens to close the shop for good, the neighbourhood proves they'll do anything to save their favourite hangout. I'm looking forward to that one. I'm going to watch it the next couple of days. Great little 2-movie box set. Again, it was totally off my radar, but I dipped in and I enjoyed the hell out of it. But I'm impressed with the quality of Smoke, and I'm looking forward to watching Blue in the Face. Again, lesson probably not learned. I'll save the big, chunky Harvey Keitel box set for last. Then we've got a crime thriller from 1996, which stars Alec Baldwin, Demi Moore, James Gandolfini, Lindsay Krause, directed by Brian Gibson. It's a thing called The Juror, which is about a working-class woman who's a single mother who becomes a juror on a very high-profile crime case and gets threatened to, vote a certain way when the verdict comes. Struggling single mother Annie Laird's assignment to jury duty becomes a nightmarish ordeal when she's targeted by the mob and threatened to help a guilty man go free, while an obsessive hitman is charged with motivating Annie to break the law, or killing her if she doesn't. You got to assume that Alec Baldwin's the hitman on that one. I'm not going to say anything about recent events. There's the interior artwork. Now, there's not really any extras on this apart from a theatrical trailer. These 1990s crime dramas are always kind of interesting because there was usually some kind of threat to a woman and the woman prevails. And they were trying to do a film noir and they very often didn't do it fantastically well. But this one's got all the hallmarks of being kind of reasonable. The script's by Ted Talley and he's a very fine writer. Looking forward to that one as well. Then we have a really odd Shakespeare adaptation. And by really odd, I don't mean Kiss Me Kate. It's an adaptation of Macbeth done as a mob drama, which is kind of interesting. And it's one I hadn't heard of. It's from 1991. So it's John Turturro, Catherine Borowitz, Dennis Farina, Peter Boyle, and Rod Steiger. It's called Men of Respect. Now, there have been a number of different adaptations of Macbeth. Of course, there was Polanski's Macbeth. There was Throne of Blood by Akira Kurosawa. But in this one, you've got John Turturro playing Macbeth, which I find kind of interesting. The lovely thing is that Shakespeare keeps giving. As society changes, you've got more and more ways in which you can interpret Shakespeare into modern settings. And that's kind of cool. I like that. I like the kind of resilience and the ongoing usability of Shakespeare. Here's the alternative artwork. There's a very young Turturro there with Peter Boyle and the other main characters in the background. That's a very 1990s piece of movie poster photography. And there's some of the artwork with some very 1990s cinematography. Looking forward to that. There was also another adaptation of Macbeth, a thing called Joe Macbeth, which was kind of interesting. So again, that resilience of Shakespeare turned up again in the 1990s, which is kind of cool. And again, it's a movie I heard nothing about. Next one I have seen. It's directed by Joel Schumacher. It stars Nicolas Cage as a private detective, Tom Wells, who gets a job with a very wealthy old lady whose husband's just died. And she takes him into this big house and tells him that her husband had a snuff film in his safe. And the snuff film was on 8mm. And she wants to find out whether the girl was actually killed, whether the snuff film was genuine, and if possible, to help the girl. Now, Tom Wells is, a family man. He's got a new baby. He's got a wife played by Catherine Keener, and he goes on this journey to find out the origin of this snuff film. It takes him to New York City. It takes him to the sleazy part of Los Angeles, where he meets a young guy who works in an adult bookshop, played by Joaquin Phoenix, who helps him go deeper and deeper down this rabbit hole of transgressive adult material. They end up in bondage clubs. They end up in sleazy underground places where people are selling videotapes of very transgressive acts. Now, this one's from 1999. And eventually, they track down who made the film and why. And then it turns very, very, very dark. Now, there's a good supporting cast of this as well. You got Peter Stormare, you got James Gandolfini. This is not the Joel Schumacher that you got when you saw the Batman movie with the bat nipples on the costumes. This is very dark. It's neo-noir. I don't think it's a 100% great film, but I think it's really disturbing in a good way. But for me, there's something slightly lacking, but it's a good thriller. If you're into 1990s thrillers, you're going to enjoy it. So this one's got a number of extras, which you can't read there because it is red on dark blue. But I will put up on the screen now what the extras are in this, just so you've got a full idea of it. Inside, you've got alternative artwork there, which is very kind of groovy. You have the disc. And there's some interior artwork with Nicolas Cage and a young Joaquin Phoenix looking at a film that is very, very disturbing. And the interesting thing in this film is, first time Nicolas Cage sees this snuff film, his character Tom Wells, he's really freaked out and disturbed by it, and I totally understand that. But as the movie progresses, he watches it again to try to find little clues in the film, and he gets increasingly desensitized by it. Really interesting part of that film is that arc of going down the darkest rabbit hole in the world. Like I said, I didn't love the film the way I love a number of other movies, but it's a good, honest crime thriller from the 90s, and it is quite disturbing and brutal in places. So if that's your bag, you got to watch that. We then get to the big one, the big chungus. Film Focus Harvey Keitel. 6 Harvey Keitel movies in an enormous box set there. All from the 1990s, 1999, 1995, 1994, 1993, 1993, and 1992. So you're covering a lot of Harvey Keitel's 1990s film career in this box set, and also the previous one with smoke and blue in the face, the chunky box. And on the back you've got a quote by Harvey Keitel there, which is always the case in these Film Focus box sets that Imprint do. I'm going to put these films in no particular order because I'll just put them in the order that they're in the box after I've had a look at them. This one I've seen, and it's about a cop who's a drug addict and also an obsessive gambler who has to investigate this sexual assault of a nun. And it is, of course, Bad Lieutenant. Now, Keitel goes to places in this one that are really, really brutal. And oddly enough, there's another Bad Lieutenant Port of New Orleans with Nicolas Cage, which came out after this one. This one's by Abel Ferrara. Keitel, he got full frontal nude Keitel in this. He goes to mad places playing this detective who's 2 seconds away from losing it all the way through the movie. Now, there's a lot of extras on this one. The supporting cast is mostly unknown actors, which makes it feel realer than it would where there are a lot of familiar faces in it. But there are a ton of extras on this. I'm going to freeze frame that and let you take a look at those. And if that doesn't work, I will put it up on the screen in a screen grab. I should look at Bad Lieutenant and see whether there's interior artwork I can show you. Yeah, actually there is, fortunately. There's the interior artwork from Bad Lieutenant. I'm a little bit wary because, I don't want to show you Harvey Keitel's Todger. YouTube wouldn't like that. But yeah, Bad Lieutenant, if you've seen it, you remember it. It is a striking film and arguably one of Abel Ferrara's best movies. It is uncompromising, let's put it that way. And it is one of Harvey Keitel's best roles as well. You should check that one out. Then we've got Young Americans, which is kind of like that John Wayne movie Brannigan, where John Wayne goes to London and takes on bad guys. In this case, Scotland Yard call in an American drug enforcement agent, played by Harvey Keitel, to help them with a growing drug trade in London. The supporting cast is pretty good as well. You've got Ian Glenn, Terence Rigby, Keith Allen, Tedaway Newton, and Viggo Mortensen in an early role. This is from 1993, The Young Americans. Now, I have not seen this one, but it looks really interesting. And there are a lot of good extras on this one as well. There's an audio commentary with film critic Bill Beery, The Outsider, an interview with director Danny Cannon, Young Blood, an interview with actor Craig Kelly from 2024. Craig Kelly's an odd name for Australians because there was a very dodgy politician called Craig Kelly. No London I Recognise, interview with the production designer Lawrence Dorman from 2024. The Lighting American, an interview with the director of photography Vernon Layton from 2024. The Young Producer, an interview with the producer Paul Tribbets and from 2024, and a trailer. So it's all there. There's the art from inside. There's the disc with Harvey Keitel with his aviators on. Next one's one about an experimental film director who gets into a Basic Instinct kind of situation with Madonna. And this one is Harvey Keitel, Madonna, James Russo in Abel Ferrara's Dangerous Game, which is in that 1990s kinky crime kind of thing, the same way the Basic Instinct was. I remember seeing this one a long time ago, but I can't recall a lot about it. Nonetheless, it's an Abel Ferrara movie. It probably sits better with me now than it did then. This one's got extras in it. Broken Hearts Down Broadway, Rewriting the Rules, interview with Abel Ferrara from 2024, which is a good catch. Primal Therapy, an interview with the actor James Russo in 2024. Something Real, Cutting Dangerous Game, an interview with the editor Anthony Redman from 2024. I always like editor and cinematographer extras because they give you so much more about the movie than you might just get from just watching the movie. Dangerous Design, interview with production designer Alex Tavalaris from 2024. Let's Try, Upping the Team's Dangerous Game, an interview with producer Diana Phillips from 2024. So that one's interesting. And again, Madonna was never a good actress, but there in certain roles, she was always very striking. So there's the disc, and there's some of the very dark photography there. This was about a comedy. It's called Imaginary Crimes. And there we have Keitel looking somewhat different. This one's from 1994. Let's see who else is in this one. Vincent D'Onofrio in a 1990s role. And D'Onofrio is always good value. Chris Penn, Seymour Cassell, Fairuza Balk, and Kelly Lynch. So that one I don't know much about, apart from the fact that Harvey Keitel plays a con man in it. But that's kind of interesting. In this one, you get an audio commentary with the critic A.S. Hamra. Crimes Confessional, interview with the director Anthony Druzin from 2024. Composing for Crimes, an interview with the composer Stephen Endelman from 2024, and a trailer. Inside you got the disc and some photography from the movie. These are such deep cuts, and between them, everything here is really covering the career in the 1990s of Harvey Keitel. Then we've got a Spike Lee joint with Harvey Keitel, John Turturro, Delroy Lindo, Mekhi Phifer, Isaiah Washington, Pee Wee Love, based on a book by Richard Price. Clockers. This was about a Brooklyn man confesses to a drug dealer's murder, but a veteran detective suspects that the real culprit is his young drug-dealing brother. So you've got that kind of complexity in there, and Spike Lee is the perfect guy to do a movie like this. There's Turturro, Mekhi Phifer, and Keitel there. And again, you've got that artwork, which looks a lot like Saul Bass kind of art design, doesn't it? I've really got to dive more into Spike Lee. I've seen a few Spike Lee movies, but I haven't seen enough of them. So Clockers is probably a good place to start. Next one's by Jane Campion, directed by Jane Campion. Kate Winslet, Harvey Keitel, Pam Grier in Holy Smoke. It's about Harvey Keitel in this one plays a guy who deprograms people who are ensorcelled by cults. And Kate Winslet's character is that in this film. And Keitel's job is to deprogram her from that. Really interesting and complex kind of movie. More female-centric than everything else in this box set. But still, I remember seeing this one, and I was impressed with the two actors playing off each other. They've got a nice antagonistic chemistry. And of course, Jane Campion, being the director she is, really brings that out well. Disc artwork's same as on the front. And there's Keitel and Winslet playing off each other. Of course, because it is a Jane Campion movie, there are a lot of extras on this one. We've got an audio commentary with film critic Alexandra Heller-Nicholas from 2024. Great, she is very, very good at this stuff. Audio commentary with the writer Anna Campion and actress Kate Winslet. So you've got both sides of things, a critic and people involved in the production. Reprogramming the Deprogrammer, Harvey Keitel and Jane and Anna Campion's Holy Smoke. A video essay by Elizabeth Purcell from 2024. Deprogramming Deprogrammers, an interview with documentary film director Mia Donovan from 2024. Extended scenes, a TV spot, and a trailer. So again, a really full lot of extras for this movie, which a lot of people just haven't remembered. But still, it is a great, tough little film. But you don't only get that because this is one of those box sets where you also get a booklet. And there's a really nice photograph of Keitel. I like that one. Let's see. There's an essay about Bad Lieutenant. I'm not going to show you that page because you can pretty much see Harvey Keitel's Todger by film critic Sean Burns. And there's also some essays about the other films as well. So it rolls on from there. Now, these film focus box sets that Imprint is doing at the moment are fantastic. They cover, if not the whole career of an actor or a director in a couple of cases, they cover a snapshot of a certain period in the careers of those people. And they do it meticulously well. Everything's well researched. Everything's beautiful. The prints they've got are just crisp as hell all the time. And the extras are really kind of surgically precise in a way that isn't just about being a smarty pants about the work involved, but it is always and completely about informing the person watching the movie about a lot more about the movie than you just see on the screen. And I love that because I don't have a background in film history or anything like that. I always learn things from looking at the extras on these box sets. And this one is a banger. And Keitel isn't the first guy you think of for this kind of a box set. But having seen what they've got in here and kind of thinking back, and I looked at all of Harvey Keitel's filmography on the internet, on IMDb, and I thought, this guy has done so much more than I remember him doing, and so much interesting work that isn't just about showboating as an actor, but it's about the ensemble he works with and creating characters that are memorable and at times incredibly disturbing. So thank you very much to Imprint for giving me the chance to look at these films and to review them and to just remind myself how good an actor Harvey Keitel is. I'll put links on how you can get these in the description. These are, of course, a boutique Blu-ray. They're not mainstream Blu-rays. They're for a specific audience, and they are done so incredibly well. Australia is producing some really fine boutique Blu-rays and 4Ks in some cases that give us access to movies that may not even have got a DVD release here in Australia, or if they did, it was a shoddy, poorly made one back in the 90s or early 2000s. And then suddenly it's available here. It's supporting a local business, and it's also giving an incredible context to a whole bunch of movies that people may have forgotten. And it's easy to forget movies. We watch thousands of them. Over the history of cinema, there's got to be at least 500,000 movies made, at least feature films. And so it's easy for movies to not stay on our radar. But when something like these box sets and these individual releases come out, it's suddenly at our attention again. We think, why did we forget these movies? Why did we not appreciate them as much as the people who put together this box set did? And of course, the box sets that allow us to appreciate these films, these actors, these writers, these directors, these cinematographers, these composers, everybody, a lot more than we ever did. So that's it for this time around. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. You can also support the channel by becoming a channel member or by becoming a patron at patreon.com/TerryTalksMovies. Let me know which of these movies you want to see and whether you've seen any of them and what you think of them, because there's a wide range of 1990s cinema this month. And a lot of people, when they're first, as grown-ups, watching movies, were watching them in the 1990s. So until next time, when I've got Science Fiction Saturday coming up, watch some good movies, watch some bad movies, watch a bit of Harvey Keitel, and I'll catch you next time.